Lunch break of day 19 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry, Tranche 3, Phase 1. We have been listening to very emotional live evidence of Sukhdev Reel and Tish Reel, her daughter, the mother and sister of Ricky Reel. I'm joined with Dave Morris of the campaign Opposing Police Surveillance, and also a regular co-participant at the inquiry. It's been a very emotional hearing this morning. Sukhdev, really, heart-rending story. I mean, it's such a heartbreaking story in the first place. But I think her and her daughter Tish particularly has really kind of brought home what this really is all about.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it has been. I mean, the whole. I mean, where do you start, really? I mean, it's quite shocking what happened to her son and how he was attacked by racists and then disappeared, and the police were basically doing nothing. And the family had to do all the hard work to kind of try and find out what happened, where he was, and then 7 days later he's found drowned. And the police, ever since that moment, if not before, in fact, it was clear from the very beginning, really, their first contacts with the police that, oh, something's happened, it's just an accident, don't worry about it, or they said all kind of racist things.
Yeah, it was incredibly racist.
Oh, maybe it was an arranged marriage and he was, trying to get out of it, or he was gay or something, anything to avoid having to do their job and look for a missing person who had been attacked by racists, him and his mates told the police that. So that was just the beginning.
I mean, it was a lot about the direct targeting by the undercover police officer HN81, cover name Dave Hagan, who was avoided giving evidence to this inquiry. When the family met with the police in 2014, we were taken to the documents from that. They were told repeatedly that this was collateral intrusion, that the family themselves had not been directly targeted. It was only because of the involvement of Movement for Justice that they had supposedly been targeted. What we've seen very clearly from the reports, and it's been highlighted very well by Tish Reel today, that it was not collateral intrusion at all. It was very directly targeted by Dave Hagan against the Reel family very directly.
I mean, from the very beginning, once it's clear that the family were asking awkward questions about the shocking failures of the police investigation, that the police started to cover up really from the first few days onwards, and then eventually the family realized they weren't going to get any justice from the police, and formed a campaign, the Ricky Reel campaign. And from that moment, really, the police just treated the family as a problem, and the questions the perfectly valid questions they were asking, which involved not just them asking it, but there were inquiries, there was further investigations, there were reports, and all of them were about promoting this police line that, oh, it was a tragic accident, and so on. And really. And then the other theme, apart from this police line all the way through, denying the racist attack and their failures, the other theme was lack of resources. We haven't got the resources to kind of investigate everyone that disappears yet. So when they found out in 2014 that police were monitoring the family campaign, and putting in reports that were being sent up to the highest levels of the people that had done some of the previous investigations.
So it was more than that. I mean, essentially, the Ricky Reel campaign led to a second investigation that was headed by an officer called John Greaves. We've seen very direct connections between the reports that were done by Dave Hagan, HN81, who's the cover name Dave Hagan, from the SDS to SO24. SO24 is what the unit John Greaves was a part of when he was doing that second investigation into Ricky Reel's death. We saw direct examples of particular intelligence on left-wing involvement in the Stephen Lawrence inquiry that specifically referenced the Reel family that was being handed to John Greaves as he was working on that second investigation into Ricky Reel's death. This is very similar to what we saw with Hagan giving information to the Stephen Lawrence review team, who are working on giving submissions to the Stephen Lawrence inquiry. That the police were acting with such bad faith that right at the time when they were meant to be finally doing their jobs, actually investigating the death of Ricky Reel properly, the second time around, their opportunity to do it properly, what they were doing is they were spending money, using resources, as Tish Reel said, using the special skills that the Special Branch have, not for looking for Ricky Reel's killer, but instead on spying on the family.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, in 2014, when they were finally told the devastating news that they were being spied upon, which was in itself like really shocking to them, and they couldn't believe it. But we were shown today at the same time they were being spied upon. Bob Lambert, the SDS manager at the time, the notorious Bob Lambert, had written this report. Oh yeah, so the police were saying, "Oh, don't worry, now we've told you about." In 2014, we weren't really targeting you. It was collateral damage. We were really interested in these left-wing groups or whatever, However, Bob Lambert wrote this very detailed analysis report about how important it was that the undercover officer was providing information about these campaigns. This was vital because the Ricky Reel family campaign could become as big as the Lawrence controversy and scandal that Stephen Lawrence.
The exact words were, "It could be as big in a potential embarrassment to the Metropolitan Police as the Stephen Lawrence case."
And really, it was all about reputation management. The whole deployment of Hagan, HN81, and his monitoring of family justice campaigns and other officers that were monitoring family justice campaign. It was nothing to do with public order. It's nothing to do with subversion. It's all about protecting the reputation of the police rather than getting rid of racism, getting rid of incompetence in the police force, getting rid of police brutality. And
we were taken to an example of one of the ways in which he spied on the Reel family, following a public meeting where Sukhdev Reel spoke about the death of her son. She was very upset, and he offered her a lift home. She certainly didn't ask for the lift, and he drove her home. Now, the report from that particular incident doesn't appear to exist. We don't know whether it was destroyed, whether it was hidden, whether it's been withheld from disclosure, but certainly he would have filed a report because he filed reports about everything. All intelligence is good intelligence. We've heard that so many times. He claimed that he didn't exploit the situation. He didn't go inside despite being invited. We don't know that. But it was very clear that this was direct targeting. As Bob Lambert wrote in that briefing document about the deployment of Dave Hagan, it said that Dave Hagan was ideally placed to spy on the Reel family in the months ahead. So it wasn't collateral intrusion. This was planned, this was deliberate, and this was ongoing.
Yeah, this is a big police lie at the centre of this inquiry about so-called collateral inclusion. Wherever it looks really bad for the police, oh, well, that was just collateral intrusion. And all the family justice campaigns, that's their kind of line in this inquiry. But it's clear, actually, these are the key things that are major reputational damage to the Metropolitan Police, not the odd protest or whatever, there might be a scuffle or something, because they're claiming, it's all about concerns about public order. It's not. It's about reputation management. It is really shocking to see the damage the police can do to families. People who have trust in the police.
I mean, that's something that really should be pointed out. I mean, the impact on Sukhdev, but the family at large, is horrific. As Sukhdev said herself, that she had never had any interactions with the police beyond in a professional capacity as a senior homeless outreach worker and in her job. That she wasn't expecting anything other than professionalism from the police. What she has received from the police has been horrific. She talked about how the depth of the impact on her, about that she sees eyes everywhere. She's constantly sure that she's being watched. watched and followed. Her daughter Tish talked about how she screams in the night. I mean, it's heartbreaking to hear, really. It's so emotional. I mean, we've had longer breaks than usual. It's been very difficult. I mean, it is really good that her and Tish are able to give evidence together.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, Tish, you know, she's able to articulate, you know, to go to the core of what's really happening. And yeah, I think her daughter Tish has completely destroyed the police case on you know, so-called collateral damage. And yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of different you know, movements that the police have targeted, in the SDS targeted in this inquiry, and the family justice campaigns are almost like they stand out as so shocking, not just because of the effect on those families, but just it's clearly 100% about reputation management. They're targeting campaigns with the potential to embarrass the police. I mean, rather than the police changing their attitudes and their practices about, you know, racism and deaths in custody and proper investigations. So I think, you know, that this stuff should be front page news, you know.
I mean, there is more journalists than normal today at the inquiry. Hopefully, there will be some news reports. We were just overhearing some people from ITV talking about doing an interview with Sukhdev at the end of the day. Hopefully, that does go ahead. Anything else you'd like to add, Steve?
No.
So the hearing continues this afternoon. We'll be hearing more from the Reel family. Please tune in if you can. It is being broadcast with the usual 10-minute delay by the inquiry, so you can follow proceedings. Otherwise, I will be doing more videos in the break, hopefully trying to get some other people in who maybe you haven't seen on these videos before, particularly those who were close to the Reel family at the time. Thanks for joining. See you later on. Bye for now.
Great.